Well, what's going on, YouTube? In order to bring y'all better content, I will be recording the book like this. Oh, oh, wait. Like this. Boom. All right, so we are reading Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice by Dennis Kimbro and Napoleon Hill. We did chapter one. No, we did intro yesterday. Today we have chapter one. Main point on intro was the story, Acres of Diamonds. Where's mine? Boom. All right. Acres of Diamonds yesterday. This is the intro. That was the main thing. Basically, like, the grass ain't always greener on the other side. Is basically what this was saying. I don't like this lighting. 1 second. That's better. That's better. A great occasion is worth to a man exactly what his preparation enables him to make of it. That's another good one from yesterday. And then there's some more in here. But if you want to listen to yesterday's, you can listen to the summary or go back and listen to the actual follow along. Today, chapter 1, Inner Space, the Final Frontier. Wealth is the progressive mastery of matter by mind. R. Fuller. Poverty is a disease of the mind. S.B. Fuller. We have always been explorers. It is a part of our nature. Since we first evolved a million years ago or so in Africa, we have wandered and explored our way across the planet. Humans have explored every continent from pole to pole, from Mount Everest to the Dead Sea. This exploratory urge has clear survival value and is not restricted to any one nation or ethnic group. It is an endowment that the human species has in common. But at just the time when the Earth has become almost entirely explored, other worlds beacon. T-minus 2 minutes and counting. The voice giving that command belongs to the test conductor in the firing room of the NASA's Launch Control Center. He is completing the countdown for the greatest adventure in the history of civilization, the first manned lunar flight. One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. It somehow seems difficult to believe that the space age is still in its infancy. Today, satellites routinely orbit the Earth, relaying television programs from all points over the world. Flashing warnings of developing storms and surveying the planet's precious supply of natural resources. Robot spacecraft journey far into the solar system, transmitting unprecedented photographs of the once mysterious face of the moon, Jupiter, and Mars. Man now talks almost matter-of-factly about the day when he will venture to other galaxies. T-minus 1 minute and counting. The voice crackles over one of the hundreds of communication circuits monitored by launch crew members. Paracelsus, a 16th century European philosopher, challenged our character when he wrote, God did not create the planets and stars with the intention that they should dominate man, but that they, like the other creatures, should obey and serve him. Yet historians will record that the opening of this era of infinite promise and potential occurred only in the middle of the 20th century, when man first successfully launched a package of the scientific instruments called Sputnik 1. The foundation for space exploration for the betterment of life on Earth had been laid. T-minus 30 seconds and counting. A button is pushed, electronic sequence springs into action. The rest of the countdown will be done automatically. If any trouble develops past this point, computers will electronically shut down the operation. Engineers and technicians will monitor the series of final events now taking place. T-minus 10 seconds and counting. Exploring outer space has been both a challenge and an obligation. Like runners exchanging a baton, scientists, engineers, and mathematicians employed the successes of past explorers to satisfy their hunger of discovering the universe and learning truths. T-minus 3, 2, 1, liftoff. Rivers of flame gush down the scorched deflector and funnel out on both sides of the launch pad for several hundred feet. For nearly 9 seconds, the booster The booster remains locked on its mobile launcher. The ground for miles rumbles and swells as if an earthquake was taking place. The rocket was finally freed. Slowly, ever so slowly, it begins to rise. Mankind has now embarked on a new cosmic stage of existence of terrestrial civilization. The message is clear. Earth is seen not as our world, but as a part of the greater system of worlds that has now become accessible. It is thought that space exploration will have a profound effect upon life on Earth. We have been informed that if man is wise enough to constructively apply this knowledge, the greater will be his opportunities. But what lies beyond the this latest expedition into our outer regions of the universe? What will follow once the solar system planets have been visited, first by robot spacecrafts, then by man? What benefits will be reaped from the conquest of the endless seas of outer space 20 years from now, 30 years, 50 years? Through the magic of satellites, will man have created a unified world? Will this improve human relations? Will famine wane? Will this finally bring a halt to poverty, ignorance, illiteracy, war, or despair? The answer to these questions will not be found within the rim of some far-off sphere or galaxy unknown. Though man has traversed the earth, climbed its highest mountains, explored the depths of its ocean, harnessed electricity, uncovered the secrets of the atom, transmitted pictures and sounds from continent to continent, healed with a pill, destroyed with an invisible beam, and now fired projectiles into outer space, the answers he seeks may be found much closer to home. But something has gone amiss. The anticipation of progress has been supplanted by a foreboding of technological ruin. As I look into the eyes of my fellow man and ask myself, what kind of future has been planned by those who have never explored outside of their own seemingly limited domains? I realize that they have been offered visions of a future that includes the inability to read, to compete, to anticipate events, to invent, or to think. There are those who sink into lethargy and economic decay as fear and ignorance conspire to destroy their opportunities. Even as our investigation of the outer world has produced such startling results, we must now turn our attention inward to the investigation of ourselves. After many concerted, systematic, and historic missions to other worlds, including the renaissance of several planets witnessed in the night sky, we must focus our being inward at inner space and the conquering of our minds on Earth. In the conquering of our minds. The human mind is the last great unexplored continent on Earth. It contains riches, material and spiritual, both beyond our wildest dreams. However, like a fertile land, the mind will return anything that we plant. Now you might say, if it's true, why don't individuals use their mind more? The answer is quite simple. Our mind comes to us as standard equipment at birth. It's free. Predictably, we place little or no value on which is given to us for nothing. On the other hand, things that we pay money for, we value. But the paradox is closer to the truth. Everything that is really worthwhile in life comes to us free. Our minds, our souls, our bodies, our hopes, our dreams, our ambitions, our intelligence, our love of family, all these priceless possessions are free. Ironically, the things that cost us money can be replaced. A good man or woman can experience bankruptcy, but live to build another fortune. That can be done several times. Even if a home burns down, it can be rebuilt. But those things we get for nothing can never be replaced. The mind isn't used because we take it for granted. It can do anything we assign it to, but regrettably, we use it for little jobs instead of big important ones. A 1970 Stanford University study proved that most of us are operating on less than 5% of our capacity. Though we are blessed with unlimited power, we use only a fraction of it. Unlimited wealth lies around us, but for numerous reasons, we don't grasp our share. With powers endowed to us by our creators, we are content to continue in this daily grind, eating, sleeping, wandering, plodding through an existence less eventful than that of dumb animals, while of all nature, of all life calls upon us to awaken from our slumbers, to better ourselves. But you are now entering a new age, an age when you will be your own master, when poverty, ignorance, and fear will no longer hold you captive, and where the very least among us can capture a place side by side with those who have attained greatness. The power to be whatever you wish, to obtain whatever you desire, to accomplish all that you can conceive, abides within the well springs of your being. To those of you who do not know the resources of this innermost power, these will sound like rash statements. But science has proven beyond question that in the depths of everyone's consciousness are untapped deposits of ability, wisdom, greatness, and yes, riches. Thousands of Black Americans have applied this power for their own personal enrichment. For example, when Henry Flipper first took hold of this motivating force, he was a poor and friendless youth. Born in 1856 in Thomasville, Georgia, to ex-slaves, Flipper dreamed of a military career. Though victimized and discriminated against by an insensitive society, he achieved his goal and became the first of his race to graduate from the United States Military Academy at West Point. Charles Clinton Spaulding took a small North Carolina insurance firm that was nearly bankrupt by a $40 claim and built it into the largest Black insurance company in the nation. Spaulding became acquainted with poverty at an early age. Born in North Carolina and one of 14 children, he grasped opportunity wherever and whenever he could seize it, with a vision of greater things to come. He saw education as his magic ladder to success. He rapidly absorbed all that he could, attacking his lessons with unprecedented vigor. To keep money in his pockets, he shined shoes, delivered groceries, sold newspapers, and picked tobacco into the morning hours. By hard work, he managed to graduate during Durham's segregated public schools. After graduation, he worked as a stock boy in a nearby general store. It appeared to Spaulding that he had risen as far as he could go, but he had yet to recognize and use his greatest asset, the secret power within. And then it happened. Spaulding decided to apply himself to the task at hand. He started work early, stayed late, and worked tirelessly in between. His goal was to make his employer the most profitable man in town. Spaulding went the extra mile to please each customer and soon spread word. Under his leadership, the small enterprise prospered and Spaulding was promoted. And then came the opportunity he had so diligently sought. John Merritt, a barber who had no formal education, and Aaron McDuffie Moore, a practicing physician, I'm saying it right, I guess, but it sounds weird. Anyways, conceived the idea of a life insurance company that would serve Durham's Black community. It was a bold concept. However, both men were actively employed and found it difficult to promote their venture. What was needed, they figured, was someone who was sharp and energetic and who could devote his time exclusively to the promotion of their firm. Both had observed the hardworking clerk in his duties at the general store and were impressed. They approached the young man and offered him a position with substantially lower wages but brimming with possibilities. With an eye toward the future, Spaulding accepted. Thanks to C.C. Spaulding's resourcefulness, missionary zeal, and power within, the North Carolina Mutual Insurance Company became one of the shining examples of Black business. Dr. Hugh Golster, past president of Morehouse College, called on his power as he responded to the question, What made you one of America's 100 best college presidents? He replied, you must establish your dreams and quietly move in the direction to attain them. To this great power and self-mastery, Alpha Gibson owed her success. Born in 1927 to impoverished South Carolina sharecroppers, she started out under great difficulties. Hoping for better circumstances, her family moved to New York while Athla was still young. On New York's inner city streets, she was introduced to a game closely resembling tennis. Almost immediately, she pictured a life beyond her humble beginnings. For the next decade, her life consisted of eating, sleeping, and playing tennis. Determined to mold herself into something special and fueled by a burning desire, Althea Gibson became the first of her race to capture the prestigious Wimbledon Cup, symbolic of the game's best. And what does she owe to her success? Though initially shy and timid and without adequate contacts or proper training, she put into action her one great power. This power remains ever present for all who dare to use it. This same power found its way into the mind of Frederick Douglass, the great abolitionist. Frederick Douglass, the great abolitionist, starting life against many great obstacles, Douglass nevertheless reached his goal. For years, life seemed to turn a cold shoulder to his hopes of freedom. He was a slave who did not know his father or saw his mother rarely. When she would walk the 12 miles from a neighboring plantation to spend precious moments with her son. Douglass had little chance of learning. The unwritten codes of the forbidden system forbade slaves to read or write. But somehow, unnoticed by his oppressors, he managed to discern the rudiments of the alphabet from discarded newspapers. A seed was planted, and from this spark kindled an intellectual explosion. The truth was revealed to him that when he read the Declaration of Independence, in his mind, he was free. Douglass fled from slavery at 21, went north and worked on the loading docks in Massachusetts. At Nantucket, he was given an opportunity to address an anti-slavery meeting. An anti-slavery meeting, and made such a favorable impression that he was sent by the Abolitionist Society to lecture throughout Europe. On one such tour, he met a group of Englishmen who helped him purchase his freedom. During his repeated trials, Douglass relied on his omnipresent resource to accomplish his objective. So persuasive was this ex-slave that he attracted a strong following and was selected for many influential public posts. Before his death, his success was even felt in the commercial world. As he amassed a small fortune. For this reason, Congress labeled him the first colored man of the United States. You should be moved by the preceding stories. No man or woman, however poor or indignant, need despair. There are riches for anyone who recognizes the power of the mind. You are a mental being. Think for a moment. Thoughts and ideas are actually living things. Thoughts produce tangible results and have a powerful long-term effect on your life. Thinking is your greatest gift and is the most vital aspect of your being. The car you drive, the house in which you live, the chair upon which you rest, were first ideas in mind. Everything you see began as ideas in mind. Your physical world is nothing more than the lingering evidence of that which has already taken place in your mind. It is merely an extension an extension or outpicturing of your thoughts. Yours is a mental world. You are a mind with a body. That bit of wisdom comes from insurance magnate Magenta and philanthropist W. Clement Stone. And because you are a mind, you possess mythical powers, both known and unknown. This extraordinary power, mystical, as it has been rightly called, is both real and practical. It is wise to approach this concept in a spirit of awe, for it is the most profound subject of this book. Mental power is really no less than that which lies at the center of your being. Let me say that again. Mental power is really no less than that which lies at the center of your being. And to discover this force is your birthright. It is your right and your privilege to make use of it. Allow this power to work for you. But where is this resource? Where may we find it? How is it brought into action? These answers are simple. This power is to be found within your own consciousness, your ability to control your own thoughts. The power of thought may be likened to a rich garden. The soil may be converted by organized effort and the Creator's beneficence into a necessary food source, or by neglect, it may be allowed to produce useless weeds. The mind is eternally at work, building up or tearing down, bringing misery, unhappiness, and poverty, or joy, pleasure, and riches. The mind is never idle. It is the greatest of all human assets, yet it is the least used and the most abused. Scientists have revealed many of nature's most astonishing secrets, but has overlooked the source of man's wealth, the power of his own thoughts. Lying within your mind is a source of energy stronger and more potent than any explosive, unlimited and inexhaustible. You need only to make conscious contact with this force to set it working in your affairs. When you do, you will marvel at the following changes: mental and physical health, success in your chosen field of endeavor, a sense of personal fulfillment. This is the key. The hidden cause of all things, that is primal mind. The hidden cause of all things is the primal mind that lies behind creation, and it delivers our wishes to each of us according to our thoughts. We are all guided by our own mind. You must dare to investigate all the mental laws lying outside the realm of known physical processes, laws that have undoubtedly had and will continue to have an impact on your life. But beware, the very principle that renders success is a two-edged sword. For the same principle that can lead a man or woman to a life of achievement, wealth, happiness, and the desires of his heart can also lead to a life of destitution and failure. It's all in how each uses it for good or bad. Mental laws. What are mental laws? There are a few great truths that govern all thinking, just as there are fundamental laws that rule the physical universe. For example, a young Isaac Newton, the 17th century English mathematician and philosopher, saw an apple fall from the tree and switched on the power of his imagination. Why didn't the apple fall upward, he thought. Newton spent his life unfolding the keys to the physical universe. Through his insight, mankind is able to understand the physical laws of gravity and physics. Mental laws, on the other hand, are just as broad as physical laws. These spiritual principles exist on a grand cosmic scale and rule over our mental well-being. All that is good, all that is bountiful and worthwhile emanates from the successful application of mental laws. They are the very infrastructure of life. The most significant quality of a mental law is that it can neither be created nor altered. As one is blind to the physical laws, mental laws are also undetectable to the eye. We witness only their results, bearing proof of their inevitable existence. Not once, neither in grade school nor college, were we ever instructed in a simple techniques of learning how to apply mental laws, laws that have the power to overcome adversity, eliminate self-defeating habits, and increase our self-confidence. There are an infinite number of mental laws, but fortunately, we don't need a detailed understanding of every principle of the universe to achieve even the most grandiose of goals. However, there are several key rules with which we must be totally familiar and use unfailingly as guides in all of our dealings. They are: what you think upon grows. This is the great idea that you will encounter again and again in your quest for personal fulfillment. You are a living magnet, constantly drawing to you the things, people, and circumstances that are in according with your thoughts. In other words, you are where you are and experience in relationships, even in financial conditions, because of what you are in thought. Consequently, what you think about grows. William James, the Harvard psychologist and someone who knew a great deal about achievement, said, "You are what you think about most of the time." Whatever you persistently allow to occupy your thoughts will magnify in your life. Whether the subject of your thoughts be good or bad, positive or negative, this law remains true. The more you think about an affliction, disease, headache, or poor health, the worse it will become. The more you think of yourself as healthy and well, the more exuberant and vibrant your body will be. The same is true concerning your finances. The more you think about lack, bad times, and scarcity, the more these circumstances will begin to manifest in your life. Conversely, by focusing on prosperity, abundance, and success, you will enable these riches to appear in your life. Good fortune nurtures good fortune. Learn to concentrate your thoughts on a definite major purpose. It is the starting point of all achievement. Law of cause and effect. It is astounding and shocking to see that many thousands of people whose mental machinery keeps delivering to them the very effects they say they don't want. They bewail the idea that they are poor, but that doesn't make them richer. They complain about their aches and pains, their sickness, but their sickness lingers. They say that nobody likes them, which really means they care for no one. They aren't bold, they aren't aggressive, they aren't ambitious, they aren't ambiguous. They are the sum total of their thoughts and actions. Cause and effect is a mental law that never fails. Day by day, you write your own destiny. Thoughts are causes and conditions in your life are effects. Say that again. Thoughts or causes and conditions in your life are effects. If you've ever wanted to know the status of your thoughts, you need only to look at your conditions. One of the greatest messages ever given to mankind is written in the scriptures. Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. Translated, it means whatever you send out in word, thought, or deed will sooner or later return to you, and with astounding accuracy. In practical terms, if you crave friendship, be a friend. Do you want love? Give love. If you want the confidence of others, show confidence in others first and develop your own self-confidence as well. Use or lose. This law is apparent throughout all of life. Simply stated, practice makes perfect. This familiar proverb embodies one of the most important principles of human nature. To become proficient in any field, you must practice. There is simply no achievement without practice, and even more practice. An Olympic athlete will train for years just to be able to experience the thrill of a winning moment. Virtuous musicians practice endlessly just to keep their skills at peak performance. The scientist who wins the Nobel Peace Prize has experimented and refined his theories over the course of a career. To achieve a standard of excellence, to accomplish anything extraordinary, means aiming high. It means becoming disciplined and willing to devote long hours to the task at hand. Intelligent practice is the price of proficiency. Success is often a statistical event. Prosperity is a spiritual idea of excellence. And like any form of excellence and superiority, it requires time and love and care. It is the secret of attainment. Consider the following analogy. If someone were to place your leg in a cast for 7 months, by the time the cast was removed, your leg would shrink and atrophy as compared to your other limb. Only months of regular exercise will restore the limb to normalcy. As you grow older and your life becomes more sedentary, you cease to use certain muscles. In due time, a once firm body can become soft and weak. Only regular and systematic use will prevent its deterioration. Like physical effort, thought control is entirely a matter of intelligence practice. You must use your courage or it will desert you. You must use your determination or it will leave you. You must use your power of decision or soon you will find that you have none. Law of correspondence. Your thoughts are the prophets of the future. They can predict what to expect before it happens. Why? Because you are basically a thinker, a feeler, a dreamer. What you think, feel, and dream flows inward, then outward. The basic law is first within, then without. Could any genius ever achieve anything? Could any inventor create anything? Could anyone who accomplishes anything worthwhile attain it without first having thought about it deeply, felt it, been totally imbued with it, immersed in it? Every great victory demonstrates this process. Everything that happens to you in your external world happens because of what is occurring in your internal world. There's a deep significance in the statement made by psychologist William James. You do not sing because you are happy because you sing. It signifies that the way one feels can be determined to a large extent by the way one acts. It is an indication that we, as individuals, are not powerless to circumstances and can improve our lives. This is called the law of correspondence. Your internal world is nothing more than a mirror or reflection of your internal world. Some readers will experience difficulty with this idea. If it seems impractical, examine your present circumstances from the objective point of view. First, decide what changes you wish to make in your life. Now develop a habitual mental attitude that would correspond to the new circumstances which you wish to experience. It should become apparent that before any area of your life can improve, your mental attitude toward it must change first. This principle of attitude control is discussed in detail in a later chapter. The law of correspondence makes it possible for you to change undesirable conditions and enables you to become the person you truly want to be. It requires nothing more than the ability to control your thoughts so they will correspond to the desired condition and objectives that you set for yourself. It is success that you seek. You must first develop a successful consciousness. Law of substitution. The only way to rid yourself of any negative thought is to substitute another one for it. You cannot dismiss a thought directly. You can do so only by substituting another thought for it. Why? Because your conscious mind can hold only one thought at a time. If you were to say dismiss any thoughts of lack or limitation, your mind would immediately center on that idea. When negative thoughts creep into your subconscious, immediately begin to replace them with those of more positive. Though you cannot be able to control all the circumstances that surface in your life, you are able, however, to control your response to those circumstances. You will find that a direct relationship between your level of control and your ability to effectively use the law of substitution. You will find a direct relationship between your level of control and your ability to effectively use the law of substitution. Law of belief. Many times have you heard it said, just believe you can do it and you can do it. Whatever the task, if it is undertaken in the air of positive expectancy, it can be done. This law states that anything you believe with feeling will become real in your life. Whether it be a positive belief, such as a goal or a specific desire, or a negative belief, such as self-limiting idea. The key of this law lies within the words with feeling. Many times, belief enables a person to accomplish what others consider impossible. The act of believing is the force of generating power that leads to realization. Come on, fellows. We can beat them. I guess I meant to say fellas. Come on, fellas, we can beat them, shout someone in command. That voicing of belief, challenging and electrifying, reverses the tide and rescues victory from the jaws of defeat. And all because some mighty believer knew that it could be done. Belief is the key to the basic mind power that turns dreams into realities, the mental into physical. The key to your riches are transformed for the better is the key to your riches and transformation for the better is a deeply ingrained belief. Law of attraction. Human nature assumes that opposites attract. Perhaps in the scientific realm they do, but not so with people. Actually, people are attracted to others like themselves. Individuals are drawn together because they recognize and appreciate certain common qualities in each other. Those who criticize find fault and continually accentuate the negative attract similar people into their world. On the other hand, positive, life-affirming individuals attract like-minded people into their orbit. So, in effect, you create your own world through your thoughts about life in general, about yourself in particular. Those who are clear in their thinking and affirmative in their minds find self-fulfillment. They attract positive and constructive people like themselves and prosper. The mental force that controls the universe has been called many things: God, Jehovah, Muhammad. But the important thing is to know that it exists. The law of attraction has been likened to an enormous electromagnetic field within a greater universal sphere, attracting others of the same source, kind, or quality. For example, a highly magnetized piece of steel will attract and lift a piece of metal 10 times its own weight. The same law applies within the world of human nature. The laws of attraction and repulsion operate electromagnetically. Out of this truth has grown the saying, success attracts more success, while failure attracts more failure. A positive or negative-minded individual will attract a person of the same attitude or outlook. Like always attracts like. It is important that you become magnetized with ambition. Law of compensation. The law of compensation can work for you or against you, depending on the manner in which you guide it. It may take many years for punishment to follow transgression or for reward to follow virtue. But compensation always seeks its source. An ancient Sanskrit text says, "Whatever you give to others, give with love and reverence. Gifts must be given in abundance with joy, humility, and compassion." The Bible puts it this way: As you give, so shall you receive. Examine your attitudes towards giving. Never seek a trade off, that subtle and sly thief that lies ready to rob you of the purity and joy of your giving. Be a joyful giver. Give help, give energy, give time, give funds, share ideas, offer counsel to your friends if they desire it, but give freely with joy and have no thought of a return. If you give seeking and expecting a return, you are not giving but investing. You are not releasing but lending. Your real reward must come from the infinite source, the law of compensation. The channels by which you may search your goals are clear and straightforward. When your thoughts are clearly and confidently centered on a desired result, all that is good and right will be drawn to you by your own thinking. This is an omnipotent idea that you will undoubtedly encounter as you strive for all that life offers. You are a great magnet, constantly attracting the things, people, and circumstances that are in accord with your thoughts. You are where you are in experience, in relationships, and even in financial conditions because of what you are in thought. I believe you have been drawn to this book by this powerful law. It could just be that Think and Grow Rich, a Black Choice is an idea whose time has come in your life. Change your thoughts, change your life. You can accept the dictum that you can think your way to success. Can you accept the dictum that you can think your way to success? And Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill writes, you have absolute control over but one thing, and that is your thoughts. This is the most significant and inspiring of all facts known to man. It reflects man's divine nature. This divine prerogative is the sole means by which you may control your own destiny. If you fail to control your mind, you may be sure you will control nothing else. If you must be careless with your possessions, let it be in connection with material things. Your mind is your spiritual estate. Protect and use it with care, to which divine royalty is entitled. You were given a willpower for this purpose. You were given willpower for this purpose. The power of thought, depending on how it is used, is the most dangerous and the most beneficial force available to man. Through this power, man has built great empires of civilization. Through the same power, other men have trampled down these empires like so many insignificant pieces of clay. By its application, men rise to seize his opportunity, and through neglect and misuse of the same power, man has turned his back on opportunity, becoming a puppet of his environment, a slave to his circumstances. Every creation of man, whether it is good or bad, is created first in a pattern of thought. All ideas, patterns, and purpose are created in thought. As men search all their lives for worldly riches, they fail to realize that the source of all they would ever desire is already within their reach and under their control, awaiting only their recognition and use. Your only requirement for a productive, fulfilled life lies within the storehouse of your mind. If you will change your thinking, you will change your life. From ancient times, sages and seers have tried to understand the thought process and how it works. They sought to direct the mind through the spiritual disciplines of prayer, meditation, and psychic control. Sincere and dedicated spiritual researchers were employed to communicate to others that they had learned about infinite intelligence. The way to work with one's mind and emotions to attain desired ends. Unfortunately, these efforts fell short for one good reason. They fail to apply the complete process that directs the creative subconsciousness. Throughout all of history, the great wise men, teachers, and philosophers and prophets have disagreed with each other on many different things, but on this one point, they are in complete and unanimous agreement. You are the sum total of your thoughts. A man's life is what his thoughts make of it, said the Roman emperor and philosopher Marcus Aurelius. The British writer and prime minister Benjamin Disraeli wrote, "Everything comes if a man will only wait. I've brought myself by long meditation to the conviction that a human being with a settled purpose must accomplish it, and that nothing can resist a will that will stake even existence for its fulfillment." The 19th century American essayist and poet Ralph Waldo Emerson added, "A man is what he thinks about all day long." Shakespeare wrote, "There is nothing either good or bad by thinking makes it so." Let me say it again. There is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. Harvard psychologist Williams James said in one of his emotionally charged lectures, "The greatest discovery of my generation is that human beings can alter their lives by altering their attitudes of mind. We need only to act as if the thing in question were real, and it will become infallibly real by growing in such a connection in our life that it will become real." James further concluded that if you only care enough about a result, you will almost certainly obtain it. If you wish to be rich, you will be rich. If you wish to be learned, you will be learned. If you wish to be good, you will be good. And Anne Rand, author and philosopher, emphasized, "Wealth is the product of a man's capacity to think. Man's essential characteristics is his rational faculty. His mind is his basic means of survival, his only means of obtaining that which he desires. Life for each of us is exactly as we construed it to be. According to the mental law under which we labor, all notions of theology and metaphysics are for each of us exactly as we sense them to be. For ideas that take root in our minds determine the scope and limitations of our well-being. This is the basis in the astonishing law of prosperity and success. Simply stated in 3 words, believe and succeed." Thinking along similar lines, Shakespeare put this in way, "Our doubts are traitors and make us lose the good we often might win by fearing to attempt." The English dramatist George Bernard Shaw reasoned, "People are always blaming their circumstances for what they are. I don't believe in circumstances. The people who get on in this world are those who get up and look for the circumstances they want. And if they can't find them, they make them. Too many mental power implies such chicanery as moving objects by sheer will. But the mentally adept person works on no one but himself. His is the eye through which all things are seen, but only insofar as he is able to influence his own perception is he able to influence his world. In spite of handicaps, nothing can enslave an idea. An idea proceeds from an inner realm, which is freedom itself. It is the offspring of the greatest power in the universe, the mind. Indeed, understanding the truth about your nature as mind action can set you free from every negative concept, every enslaving belief or opinion. Ideas can move you forward to a higher quality of life, a new being, and a new awareness. Decades ago, Mary McLeod Bethune personally discovered that thoughts do become things. As one of America's most inspiring educators, she began her life's work by fulfilling her mind with self-directed success affirmations. Though Black, uneducated, and shackled by poverty, Mary Bethune took hold of one of the strongest principles behind personal development and applied it to reach her main objective. She desperately wanted to improve the lives of Black children. "There is hardly a reader," said Mary Bethune, "who will not be able to recall the early life of at least one man or woman whose childhood was spent in poverty, and who in their youth expressed a firm desire to secure a higher education." Mary Bethune was one of 17 children born to slave parents in a tiny cabin on a cotton farm near Maysville, South Carolina. When she was 11 years old, the Board of Missions in the church opened a school near her hometown. Ecstatically, she was one of the first children to attend, walking nearly 10 miles each day, lured by the promise of a quality education. Reflecting on her daughter's childhood, Mary's mother said, "We had to make some of the children go to school, but not Mary. She fell in love with that little schoolhouse. Hard work and enthusiasm served her well. The following year, at the request of a wealthy Colorado dressmaker, Mary studied at the Scota Seminary. Though initially shy and uncomfortable with her appearance, Mary met every slight and criticism with unfailing faith and soon won the hearts of her teachers and peers. As her formal instruction concluded, she received numerous scholarships that enabled her to continue her studies in Chicago. At the end of the 2-year term at the Moody Bible Institute, Mary hoped to see the fulfillment of a long-cherished dream to teach as a missionary in Africa. But bitter disappointment awaited her. She was told by the Presbyterian Board of Missions that because of her race, she need not apply, and was commissioned instead to Sumter, South Carolina, and later to Daytona, Florida. The setback would have ruined many a man, but not Mary. At that very instant, fate was measuring her to play a larger role. Mary arrived in Daytona with less than $2. She looked about her at the shambles of the Black community. She saw the great need for someone to inspire her people. A desire had caught hold of her. She believed there is something infinitely better than making a living. It is making a noble life. Undeterred by her limited means, she knew that ideas were power. She immediately made plans to build a school complete with books, desks, and supplies. But without money, it would not be easy. Ever resourceful, Mary met the task head on. In order to raise the necessary funds to complete her mission, she worked unceasingly day and night and saved every dime. She lived on pennies a day while she baked pies and cakes and sold them on the streets of Daytona. "If there was ever a time when the Negro needed a boost, it is now," she told friends. In short order, she overcame all obstacles. At last, her dream was fulfilled. The school she had hoped to establish for poor Black children was complete. In the fall of 1904, in a tiny one-room schoolhouse, a beaming Mary Bethune, its only teacher, opened its doors and rang the school bell for the first time. 5 little children stepped inside, and the Daytona Educational and Institutional Training School, as it was named, was founded. Later, the school became Bethune-Cookman College, and Mary Bethune transformed a world of ignorance and poverty into one of success, self-respect, and achievement for thousands of Black men and women. Mary Bethune taught that the highest accomplishments are noble manhood and womanhood, and that achievement is true integrity and well-rounded character is in itself success. Before her death in 1955, she was an advisor to several U.S. presidents and a counselor to all who would listen. Mary Bethune's vision was part of the ongoing universal movement of thought power which anyone can grasp and use. It was only a matter of having a desire coupled with the right mental attitude and applying these powers to good use in your life. By focusing on her goal and assuming full responsibility for her thoughts, Mary Bethune overcame setback and defeated and brought about an astonishing triumph in her affairs. Her rise to prominence is proof that if one has mental power, one can succeed without any other qualities. Conscious power, wrote James Lowell, a 19th century American poet, exists in the mind of everyone. Sometimes its existence is unrealized, but it is there. It is there to be developed and brought forth like the culturing of a beautiful flower. Allow it to remain dormant is to place oneself in obscurity, to trample on one's ambition, to smother one's faculties. To develop it is to individualize all that is best within you and offer it to the world. Thoughts and ideas are living things. They produce results and can have powerful long-term effects on your life and well-being. If you are not all that you would be, begin a thorough mental inventory to find whether your thoughts and feelings are aligned with your desires. Think and act as if you were prosperous, for this will be the first step toward a prosperity consciousness, and prosperity will come to you. Think and act as if you were healthy, for this will be the first step toward a health consciousness, and health will come to you. Think and act as if you are poor, and poverty will rule your day. It is up to each of us individually to make the decision as to what our thoughts will bring. Wealth is nothing but thought. The roots of riches all grow from the seeds of thoughts, seeds that only you can plant. In a justly ordered universe, individual responsibility is absolute. A man's weakness and strengths are his own, not another's. They are brought by himself, not by another. And they can be altered only by himself, never by another. A man's condition is his own, his suffering as his happiness evolves from within. His suffering as his happiness evolves from within. As he thinks, so is he. As he continues to think, so he remains. As a reader of this book, I believe you have the human urge for the better things in life, a common desire of all people. You desire economic security. You may desire an outlet for your talents in order that you might enjoy creating your own riches. Some, however, seek the easy way to wealth, hoping to find it without rendering anything in return. Unfortunately, that too is a common desire. It is a desire I shall hope to modify for your benefit. For experience, I've learned there is no such thing as something for nothing. Nature frowns on bargains. You must give an adequate value for the object of your desire. There is only one sure way to riches, and hopefully you will have found that path before you complete this text. Let it be known at the outset that When I speak of riches, I have in mind all riches, not merely those presented by bank balances and material possessions. I have in mind the riches of liberty and freedom, which as Americans you enjoy more than any other people outside these distant shores. When I speak of riches, I refer to the abundant life which is available to all people of the United States, regardless of race and gender, and obtainable with a minimal amount of effort. I sincerely hope that you will aim for your fair share, not only of the things that money can buy, but the things money cannot buy. By riches, I mean peace of mind. Peace of mind is freedom from all negative emotions. Peace of mind is the absence of fear, anger, resentment, hatred, jealousy, and guilt. Peace of mind helps you live in a life on your own terms and the values of your choosing, so that every day your life grows richer and fuller. The right mental attitude. All riches of whatever nature begin as a state of mind. Remember, that state of mind is the one and only asset over which you have complete and unchallengeable control. Unchallenged control. Health and energy. You cannot separate the body and the mind, for they are one. Anything that affects the health and vigor of the mind will affect the body. In turn, anything that affects the health and the body will affect the mind. Health and energy are the freedom from pain and disease, a sound mind plus a sound body. Health and energy begin with a health consciousness. Your health is a priceless commodity. Loving relationships. Love is a great force that created the universe. Love is forever working in your life because it is the primal cause, the essence, and the nature of life. It is the creative force that propels all achievement, success, and ideas. Love is the foundation of the golden rule. Do unto you as you would do unto others. Do unto others as you would have others do unto you. I don't know how I got that. Anyways. Love and affection constitute the finest remedies for the soul. You can always judge the quality of your life by the number of loving relationships you have entered into. Financial freedom. Financial freedom is not attained by the possession of money alone. It is attained by the service one renders. Useful service may be converted into all forms of human needs with or without the use of money. Those who are financially free have learned the central rule of riches. You may have all the money you desire. The only requirement is that you must earn it. Fully 80% of those with whom you come in contact think of money all the time without realizing the above maxim. The average man will tell you that he wants to make $1 million and that he wants to make a lot of money, but doesn't realize that the only people who make money are those who work in a mint. The successful must earn their wages or profits. The wisdom surrounding money is strange. If you have enough of it, you hardly think about it. But if you lack it, you'll think of nothing else. Each of us must know that in order to enjoy peace of mind, loving relationships, and health and energy, we must be able to overcome any money problems. Worthy goals and ideals. The greatest of all forms of happiness comes as the result of hope of achievement of some yet unattained desire. The German psychiatrist Viktor Frankl called the state of mind a feeling of meaning and purpose. It is a sense that your life has direction. Poor is the person who cannot look to the future with the hope that he will become the person he was meant to be, or with the belief that he will reach his objective. Sense of personal fulfillment. Only the man or woman who has found his true self can know himself, find his own best talent, and achieve his own highest success. Your automated society has come to expect path-breaking technological advances as routine and mundane. For instance, the transformation of the computer is a commodity appliance into a commodity compliance has liberated mankind from the tedious tasks of the past. Through this simplified machine, man has lengthened his life and improved its quality. The 20th century has seen the world grow smaller but more efficient through an intricate web of microchips, thread-like wires, and lasers housed in a small metal box. How was this brought about? Easy. It existed in the mind first. Yes, it's true. Whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. The mind is the first cause. When you come to grasp with the numerous power at your disposal and earnestly put it to work, not only will you have domain over this earth, as is your divine charge, but you will reach new heights and possibilities. This power, your inner spark, comes as standard equipment, but it must be fanned into a flame of white heat intensity before your mental processes will be transformed into physical manifestation. Success is not a product of fate, chance, or luck. It is the result of a burning desire that knows not defeat. Prosperity is your privilege. Perhaps one of the greatest shocks I've ever received was the discovery that man's natural desire for prosperity was viewed as abnormal. Throughout my travels, I've witnessed thousands of Black Americans who secretly wondered whether poverty is a spiritual virtue or a common vice. I stood by and watched as they struggled with inner conflicts over wealth, resulting from years of self-inflicted mental wounds. If you've held this idea in the past, now would be a good time to rid yourself of this deadly thinking. Let me announce all to you. It is your right to be prosperous. Prosperity is the result of correct thoughts, an active way of thinking and living in accordance with spiritual principles. It borders on current hopes, faith, and desires. Prosperity is normal and is your natural heritage. Each of us is free to tap into infinite intelligence that makes prosperity possible. Rejoice in the idea of prosperity. Poverty, on the other hand, is undesirable, unnecessary. Misery, debt, and lack are the direct result of a poverty consciousness and a victim psychology that springs from thoughts of limitation and fear. It is a form of living hell because caused by man's blindness to the unlimited opportunities and abundance placed before him. In a country such as ours, where riches abound in every conceivable form, you should erase any thoughts that see virtue in either lack or want. Thinking his way to success. When multimillionaire A.G. Gaston first decided to seek his fortune, he worked long and hard in Alabama steel mills, earning less than 30 cents an hour. Having devised a plan to increase his lot, Gaston and his father-in-law launched a string of funeral parlors, which later grew into Booker T. Washington Insurance Company. Their modest enterprise eventually became the HUD of a network of businesses that would rocket Gaston's holdings to an estimate $40 million. His inspiring story and motivating philosophy are found in his autobiography, Green Power, The Success Ways of Arthur G. Gaston. Gaston's riches were first embedded within the deeps of his subconscious, what Napoleon Hill termed a success consciousness. Gaston elaborated, I give serious consideration to what I was going to do with my life. I considered to what I was going to do with my life. I wanted to be rich. So I thought, how does a poor Black man acquire wealth? Simply by providing a useful service. However, there was a time when Gaston had no service to provide and worked for less than $2 a day. His childhood was punctuated with poverty. His father died when he was young. His mother worked as a domestic to support her son. Because of their limited means, Gaston lived with his grandmother, who kept him fed and clothed. But it was these event-filled days at his grandmother's house that gave Gaston the greatest satisfaction, as well as his first business opportunity. A swing on his grandmother's perch became a favorite pastime among the neighborhood's children. For a modest fee of pennies, pens, and candies, Gaston's playmates could ride to their heart's content. This was his first lesson in economics. After completing the 8th grade and serving a stint in the Army, Gaston settled in Westfield, a sleepy-eyed southern town where he worked at the county's principal's employer, the Alabama Coal, Iron, and Steel Company. He remembers those long, hard days. It was back-breaking labor for poverty wages. There had to be a better way to earn a living. Nonetheless, he managed to live on a small portion of his earnings and save whatever he could. Frugality is one of the essentials of success, he quipped. It is the unwritten law of success. This statement was a symbol of Gaston's wealth. To supplement his tiny income, he sold peanuts and loaned a portion of his earnings to less thrifty coworkers. Eventually, the interest on those monies compounded and was used to start another business: motels, restaurants, nursing homes, and an enterprise that would render a service to a needy Black population. To provide the necessary manpower for his ventures, Gaston created the Booker T. Washington Business College, which today is fully accredited and supplies highly trained graduates for various positions in business and government throughout the nation. A.G. Gaston employed the secret to overcoming poverty and moving mountains. By directing and channeling his thoughts, Gaston realized his greatest gift: thinking. There is a way to provide against the onslaught of poverty, he said. It is the recognition of the power of the mind. Gaston substituted higher thoughts of abundance for his earlier restrictive thinking, which resulted in lack. Subsequently, he altered the direction of his life. A.G. Gaston knew that the most powerful forces in the universe were unseen, the silent forces of thought. He grew up under the worst conditions in a poor section of Detroit. He had little guidance except what he received from delinquent peers who, like himself, avoided school and used crime to support drug habits. He was first arrested at the age 12, caught robbing a local grocery store. At 15, he was again apprehended attempting another break-in. Later, as an adult, he was tried and convicted for his part in an armed robbery of a neighborhood bar. While in jail, he was not a model prisoner. The moment he arrived at the state prison of Southern Michigan, he vowed to himself that the facility was not strong enough to hold him and immediately made plans to escape. In fact, he was so hard bitten, he was placed in solitary confinement 3 times during his stay. It was after his 3rd stint in solitary that he received the advice that would later change his life. An inmate who had seen him play baseball in prison yard admired his enormous gift. "You have talent," he told him, "a chance to make something of yourself. Don't blow it." The young man had already heard it before, but this time it seemed different. Some silent power within caused him to take a good look at himself. He stepped back and took action. He harnessed his aggressive behavior and adapted himself to prison rules. He became the most agreeable inmate in Southern Michigan. With this new resolution, his entire state of affairs began to reverse. Ron Lerfor had finally mastered his greatest enemy, himself. Though incarcerated, he knew he was not powerless and vowed to change his thoughts. The change that Ron Lerfor experienced came by reversing his attitude. He felt that his old self had died because a new man had moved in and taken charge. He began reading self-help and inspirational books. He had looked for ways to make his prison stay as productive as possible. And this right mental attitude spilled over into other areas of his life. After a goodwill tour of the prison and talent search by the Detroit Tiger manager Billy Martin, LaFleur was offered a tryout. Impressed with his skills and ability, Martin signed the speedy inmate to a contract. Less than a year later, LaFleur was a major leaguer playing center field for the Detroit Tigers. Now reflect for a moment. Here is a man at the bottom of the barrel, a convicted felon serving a lengthy prison sentence. But despite his wretched circumstances, he nevertheless managed to use his greatest gift, and more important, he decided to exercise it positively. Ron LaFleur could have easily said, I have no hope, no chance, no choice. I'm a convict. What can I possibly do? But he didn't. What he did say was, I do have power over my thoughts, and now I choose to change my thinking. From that moment, Ron LaFleur changed his life forever. He took a good look at Ron LaFleur of the past and resolved to avoid this same appearance in the future. What is this power that Ron LaFleur possessed? What miracle turned the tide in his favor? It is the power of choice. And inhabitants of this earth, we all have the capacity to think, to express our ideas, to choose our own thoughts. Here, according to the divine plan, we are given dominion. The creative process in life gives us the authority to direct the events that take place in our outer experiences. If we do not like the world that we have created for ourselves, or if we do not like the circumstances, we have been given the privilege of forging a new set of opportunities by choosing our thoughts. The experiences of A.G. Gaston and Ron LaFleur demonstrate that no one has to be a pawn of fate, to be tossed by the winds of chance. By taking responsibility for the quality of his thoughts, anyone can chart a course of planned achievement. These stories prove once again that a man can change his world and alter his life by changing the quality of his thinking. They prove that by positively exercising the power of choice, men and women can lift themselves to significant accomplishments. There is no mystery about Gaston and LaFleur's rise to good fortune. Their success was captured by applying many of the principles outlined in this book. Stop and think. You too have the right to use those same principles. Now, what are you going to do with your right? Choice is not dead. The world is full of people who believe that choice is dead and individual freedom is an idea of the past. These individuals will rather opt for an intangible luck, fate, or roll the dice as the determiners of success. It would be wise to abandon such thinking. Historically, Black Americans have came at great length over the subject of power, both its abuse and lack. Over the last 50 years, power within Black America has come to mean control over one's destiny. I'm going to say that again. Historically, Black Americans have caused at great length over the subject of power, both its abuse and lack. Over the last 50 years, power within Black America has come to mean control over one's destiny. All power to the people, to recall the past expression, called for the unification of Black Americans to recognize a common heritage and move toward a common destiny. Black power is an intriguing slogan. It conjures up past struggles between a race and a nation groping to find common chords. It suggests dominance and retaliation by a Black nation for centuries of oppression. It also implied emancipation and full participation in the cultural diverse society. However, Both banners failed to uncover the one true power that every Black American has, the power of choice. At some point in life, we Americans become keenly aware of the constant choices that present themselves, choices that will determine our destiny. It is as though at birth we were given two sealed envelopes, each containing explicit orders by which our lives would be governed. One envelope would contain a list of blessings we could enjoy if we recognize the power of our mind, take possession of it, and carefully direct it to the goals of our choosing. The other envelope would contain an equally representative list of penalties that we would pay if we failed to recognize this power and use it constructively. Your thoughts are the only thing you control. Either you control them or you relinquish your greatest gift to others. Without control, the mind loses its effectiveness. With control and direction, it gains power. You will not have power until you organize your mind and keep it clear of disturbing influences. Use your mind to shape your destiny, to fulfill whatever purpose in life you choose, and to avail yourself of all riches that come in that sealed envelope marked blessings. Years ago, Booker T. Washington penned the following. Booker T. Washington penned the following words. It will serve you well to commit his quote to memory. The circumstances that surround a man's life are not important. How that man responds to those circumstances is important. His response is the ultimate determining factor between success and failure. Why so many continue to fail? The reason why poverty still clutches the throats of so many in this land of abundance is because so many have yet to comprehend and apply the mental laws. Many, unfortunately, have not fully understood the premise. First the dream, then reality. By failing to direct their minds on which they desire, and by allowing their thoughts to aimlessly drift to which they do not desire, they become like Job. For the things I greatly feared has come upon me. Nor have the masses fully understood the law of cause and effect, or sowing and reaping. For their pain and anguish, their results are predictable. They must permanently lay to rest the damaging belief that it is possible to receive something for nothing. This simply cannot be done and runs contrary to the law of life. At the counter of success, there are no bargains. A price must always be paid in advance and in full. For the individual who is willing to pay the price, his rewards will be greatly multiplied. By overlooking the basic laws of riches, welfare continues to entrap successful generations of Black Americans within the jaws of poverty. The focus is now more than ever on how one thinks and uses his unlimited potential to create the kind of existence he or she desires. Thoughts create your inner world, and thoughts can eradicate your self-defeating creations. Perhaps now would be a good time to ask the question, what are your thoughts? What are you currently thinking? Are you going to grasp the infinite possibilities that lie before you? While some might say that it is too simplistic to suggest that thoughts control everything, remember, your thoughts are the steering mechanism of your life. Constantly check your habits. Have you allowed your thinking to become clogged with the paralyzing visions of poverty, racism, anxiety, or fear? If so, change your mental pictures. Set aside time each day for thinking, meditating, and concentrating your mind on your desires. You'll find that ideas are powerful and expand when reflected upon. The more you think, the more you'll be able to see clearly. Subsequently, you will grow and develop as a person. Man never reaches heights above his level of thought. By engaging in thought power control, not only will you transform your own life, you will begin to have an impact on those lives around you. Chapter 1. Think and Grow Rich, a Black Choice.